Happy Friday, Mike. How you doing?
Hey, Friday, Steve. Is happy Friday? Does it matter? Does it feel different than Thursday or Wednesday or Tuesday or Saturday?
Um, Saturday certainly feels better.
Yeah.
Feels different. Sunday certainly feels different. But no, I hear you. I know where you're coming from. Every day kind of rolls into one. But as you know, Mike, each day has its own significance, and every day is named almost these days. And I was having a look before we got on air there, just about what today is, and there are three things that today actually signifies, and you can select which one's more applicable to you. I'd be
Okay.
curious to
All
know.
right.
So one is Teach Your Children to Save Day. That's what today is.
All right.
Hairball Awareness Day.
Hairball Awareness Day.
Hairball Awareness Day. And Pig in a Blanket Day. So there you go.
Hmm.
You have a choice of three.
Winner. I'll take the pig in a
Oh,
blanket. One of my
absolutely.
favorite delicacies. As you
Yeah.
can tell
Yeah.
from my physique, it's part of a staple in my diet. Pigs in a blanket.
It is good. It is good.
Where
But I
did you
just thought
find this
that
stuff?
I just find on the, it's just out there, Mike. Everything's out there. There's this thing called the internet, and you just like, it's just there. It just comes to you. Sometimes you don't even ask for it, and it just comes to you. It's great.
Yeah.
But
Are you
no, I
able to
read
change the
Hairball.
setting on our before we get too far? Do you want to change the setting on Zoom because right now we're doing the speaker
Oh,
view.
okay. Oh, yeah, yeah.
We're not
Good
side
point,
by
man. Good
side,
point. There we go.
so
There we
people want to
go.
see both of us at the same time.
I don't
There
no,
we
I think
are.
they want to see you, man. They don't want to see me. I'm just a
That's right. I just
byproduct,
want to see myself doing this. I watch myself on the replay going like this.
Very good,
I
very
try to I
good.
try to be the newscaster face. But yeah, it's
So
been a good week, busy week. How about for you? Do you feel like it was a good one?
it's been a great week. It's been a great week. Lots going on, a lot of thoughts, a lot of conversations. Yeah, lots and lots, and
You've been
avoiding
busy.
media.
We've both been
Yeah.
busy, but you've been recording. I've seen, and again, I got to catch up on the weekend, some of your other interviews with people other than me. But there's a lot of great experts you're talking to and great insights, I'm sure.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, no, it's phenomenal, and the folks that who are contributing to open source workplace. I mean, they've been great, stellar, giving stellar guidance, very thought provoking interviews as well, and I have a lot more planned for this weekend. So yeah, there's a
Oh,
lot more
wow.
to come. Yeah,
So, where do you
more to come.
stand, Steve Todd, the man with two first names, on April 24th, 2020, as this past week has been dominated by conversation around the return to the office, return to the workplace. We've talked about it here.
Hmm.
I've talked about it on my weekly live stream at workplaceinnovator.com. And that seems to be the dominant conversation. Everybody's making plans to get back. But
Yeah.
where do you stand? Because I saw a poll yesterday. I'll ask it this way.
Mm.
When it comes to this debate that's raging, and I try to tune it out because we've become, again, a polarized nation based on which team jersey you're wearing, which political party you're a part of, all of a sudden has an impact on how you feel about a virus. Makes no sense to me. But the fact that the arguments around reopening the economy in different states is going to be spilling over into the office debate over returning to the workplace, I'm sure, because we're human beings and we have strong opinions. I saw a poll that said 48%, even if we reopen the economy tomorrow, next week, next month, 48% aren't leaving their houses. Half and half. It's going to be this 50% won't leave their house, 50% are eager to get out. And this is, again, broad strokes, but I think it's going to be an interesting situation regardless.
I'm surprised it's that close. I I figured it would be more people would want to stay at home. To be honest, I really did. So that's interesting. I think what would be really interesting is actually to see and track how many people are actually go into the office. I think that's what's going to be really interesting. As we all talk about and think about what does the return to the office look like, and you think about how someone enters into a building, how they share an elevator, how they go into the office, the protocols and processes that need to be put in place to maintain
Sure.
social distancing, to protect everybody. You then have to ask yourself, why would anybody want to go into that environment? There's going to be those that just want to because they want to get out of their home and they want to sort of start and do something different in life. And I totally understand that. And that's why a lot of organizations are looking at this. But office places are there for community, collaboration, innovation, togetherness, and to create an environment that allows people to return to work. I don't think it promotes that, but obviously everyone will make a decision. So it's going to be really interesting. Speaking with
Wait, it
peers,
doesn't promote what? You don't think it promotes what?
collaboration, innovation,
Ah,
things like that.
okay.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Did I miss off my end of a sentence again?
No,
I
I was
do that a
curious. I was
lot. I do
curious.
that a
I
lot.
might have drifted myself because I was thinking about,
Okay.
but we've had this discussion here, and you've had
Hmm.
an interesting debate going on. Not a debate, but you really sparked a fire with the conversation on LinkedIn with the clip you posted from earlier this week around collaboration and innovation and this, uh, spontaneous collisions. Can we simulate that or duplicate that through a virtual means? Because we do it deliberately in the workplace, physically trying to get people to run into each other to spark those organic
Yeah.
conversations. But there's some interesting conversation going on there. And you think it could be duplicated online, or don't you? What's your gut telling you?
Um, as you can see in my pause, I think it can. I think we're going to have tools to do it, obviously. And I think individuals need to be really intentional about it, right? So within your organization, outside your organization, I think individuals are going to take a responsibility for themselves to be socially more communicative and available to other people, to allow some of those conversations that you would typically have and easily have and accidentally have in the office. I think people have to be more deliberate, for those things to take place.
Are
And
you
I think there's
feeling?
going to be
I'm sorry to cut you off,
no, no,
but
go ahead.
as I think about that, I'd love to see that happen. But I don't know how open I am to it. If someone, I saw some of the tools that will like spontaneously connect you with someone else from your team or from your company, or maybe
Hmm.
vendor customer relationships where it's like have a meeting with so and so. The algorithm tells you to. So I am so tired of Zoom meetings already, and it's only been 5 or 6 weeks. I'm so tired and I get exhausted from the emotional drain that these virtual connections deliver, which is different to me than the energy I get from an in-person meeting, from the energy I get hanging out with people. It's just, I don't know. Are you feeling that at all? Do you feel that
It's
emotional drain?
I'm hearing that more and more. And it's the thing is with Zoom, you then have to be in one spot. You have to be sitting in front of your computer. Where
Yeah.
when you're on a phone call, you can be walking around your house, you can be walking outside, you can be mobile while also participating in a call. Where on video, yeah, no, you're absolutely right. You have to be in your seat and looking at your computer. Um, and while it is engaging, but we know it's a lot. We feel so much more connected on the computer, but I think people are when it's on the computer on using visual. I think people need to take it upon themselves to pick and choose meetings. That okay, what are the meetings I can take on the phone and go with those. But I've actually heard also people say that oh no, another happy hour. Happy hours are becoming chore hours rather than happy hours. A lot of people are saying that, but I totally understand the uh, the reasons behind it, the emotional reasons why people want to continue with the happy hours to keep people connected. But
Yeah.
I've
Yeah, I'm
heard
not
that
there
too.
yet. I'm looking
You're
forward
not
to. I
there
didn't
yet.
do a happy hour this week. I did one the
Oh,
last
that's
couple
okay.
weeks, but
There you go.
next week
And
again, I'll be back with my friends from the Capital chapter of IFMA. But
yeah,
but you,
yeah,
you know, so you're surprised at the 48-50% of the people who
yeah,
only are staying home.
yeah.
Um, this is a general population poll. You got to remember, and I have to remind
That's true.
myself that you and I are different than
Yeah.
a lot of people in this country. And there was another release of unemployment filings yesterday.
Yeah,
I
it's
4 or 5 more million
crazy numbers.
people. So
Yeah.
if we're at 20% unemployment in the country, I mean, there's 20% right there ready to get back to some kind of new opening
Yeah.
of the economy. Then you've got the people in our situation, and that's even just again there's a lot of people like us out there, workplace leaders, office, corporate real estate focused people who have the built environment as their primary business. They go to offices in some way, shape, or form. We've talked about workplace in many ways. What percentage of the overall population are we as far as like these pure knowledge workers who could sit at a computer at home and pretty much be as effective as they are in another space? We've debated this for years, but
Mm.
what percentage of the overall US population are we talking about? or any Western society, Europe, the UK, it's less than half, I would think, still, even in our economy.
Yeah, I don't know
And
that
among
statistic. That would be interesting.
I always think
Yeah.
about, and I'm sure it's just natural for us to think about our own little bubble and our own personal biases, our own personal experiences. So I try to, I can't imagine what it's like to be, for example, a restaurant worker, if that was your primary profession, or in the entertainment field, sports. A lot of the sports players are certainly fine because they have millions of dollars in the bank, but the concession stands workers, and I think about some of the people that were minimum wage or close to it, and working in our service economy. I just, that's when I get upset, because I start, again, it's a good thing to empathize with other people, but it's a bad thing for my mental health. And we discussed it yesterday with Rex Miller.
Mm,
He told a story about, frontline workers, even in the built environment, with facility maintenance workers, because we've got our facility
yeah.
managers that I talk to on my show, but then you've got the frontline maintenance professionals who are, struggling to get by, and they're not able to do their job because uh, or if they do their job, they're literally putting their life in danger. So it's overwhelming at times to think about that. And that's why I think, um, I struggle sometimes to find that happy place, because even though I can settle into a routine of, yeah, this isn't too bad, and yeah, there's some inconveniences. I don't get to go to baseball games, I don't get to go to the movie theater, I don't get to go to restaurants anymore. Those are just inconveniences for me. I'm still making a living doing my job from home. We'll continue to do it. To answer the question, and I'll turn it back over to you, see what kind of thoughts I've sparked here. But I'll continue to work from home because I am a remote worker. And even if the office in Houston, Texas for iOffice reopens on May something or June something, it doesn't affect me. I'm still going to be doing my job here. It's more, when do I feel comfortable getting back on an airplane and flying to Houston or flying to a conference? And when do even conferences, the way we used to know them, start again? Because I think it's sounding more and more like this year is not going to be the case. 2020, even in the fall, the conference schedule is beginning to fall apart from what I've heard from Cornet. Cornet postponed or
Hmm.
canceled
Hmm.
their global
Oh, they
summit
did.
here in DC.
Okay.
Yep, that came out
Okay.
this week. So
Yeah.
that was
I mean, I
October.
think.
That was supposed to be October. So it's
Mm,
like, here we are making decisions for the fall already,
yeah.
based on the fact
Yeah.
that most people probably won't go.
Yeah. No, and I think a lot of sporting events have announced that there will be no, even if the games take place, there'll be no crowds there until at least 2021. So it sort of shows what the expectations are, for those events. And then we have to sort of assume, to your point, on conferences and so on and so forth. So again, we have to reimagine what conferences are. It may mean that there's a lot more webcasts for people to join and learn, which is a lot more people for you and I to talk to, which will be great. I saw you rolling your eyes. You don't seem
Well, part
happy.
of me is like, yeah, great. I'm happy to do it.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
we do it well. I think you and I set ourselves apart by trying to do it well, add a little personality, and make it fun. But the thought of, and again, I hope, and I know there are people out there planning to use some really cool new technology tools,
Yeah.
not just Zoom, not just GoToMeeting, but there's other technologies that really give you that immersive feeling that you're part of something. And I'm excited to see what those
Hmm.
conferences do. And I'll be watching, because that's something that does interest me, and certainly someone in this space. If we could recreate that feeling, and you've got some great ideas, chopping it up, spreading it out, making it really digestible in this new normal, the new technology virtual world. There's hope. There's hope that creativity and human ingenuity and the mix of new technologies will allow us to create an experience that we actually look forward to. But for me, I'm skeptical at this point, cynical, skeptical, whatever you want to say, because I've been doing these things for a long time, and they serve a great purpose, but they're not the same as
Mm,
in-person interaction. Um,
yeah. No, and I think you're right, and I think a lot of the benefits of going to a conference. We talk about accidental collisions in the workplace, but actually going to a conference, that's one of the biggest benefits of going to a conference. Those accidental collisions, the new relationships you form, people you meet, people you get introduced to, right? That's one of the key, importance of those conferences. So it'll be interesting to see as virtual conferences sort of take off, how they sort of help and try and to recreate those things as well. So lots to see. But one of the things I've mulled over yesterday, and I participated in a few calls internally, externally with folks who do similar roles to me, um, and talking about this return to the office. And what's really becoming clear is how hard it is to coordinate with landlords. Each landlord has a different view. Every state has a different opinion or different rules, regulations, and simple things like thermometers. Who do you give the thermometer to actually measure temperature? And what do you set the temperature at? So your
Yeah.
temperature may be very different to my temperature. You may get in and I may not get in, but body temperature may be a little bit higher. So how do you navigate those things, right? Is the landlord's responsibility to do those things. Some landlords are saying, I'm not going to do it. It's not my responsibility. The state doesn't allow me to do that. Others are thinking about it. Others are thinking about putting, infrared sensors and technology into a lobby to allow them to track temperatures.
Hmm.
And just these complexities that actually are very, very challenging, and challenging in the sense of, to digest all that information and then distill it into a format that can be communicated clearly to employees, so employees can understand the gameplay, the game plan, the process, not the process, well, the process and the procedures that need to be, we need to work together on, so that everybody who comes into the office feels comfortable. It's so hard. It's so hard to get it consistent, and I know organizations have just said we're not bringing our employees back just yet until, um, things have are more stable, and there is a better plan, and people do feel more secure and more safe, and we kind of know what people are going to do, landlords are going to do. And obviously, a lot of organizations share floors with other tenants.
Yep.
So how do you, even if you put in your own procedures, how do you know what the other tenants are planning to do? And that sort of pollination, and it's so hard. It's so hard.
Hmm.
um but it's a great exercise trying to put this and piece these things together. And I think, and what I'm really enjoying is the collaboration that's happened in the industry, right? So we've got all these consultants who are putting together all these protocols, all these thoughts and ideas that you're able to take, and then when speaking with peers who are trying to do this for other organizations, and taking that information and then being able to apply that to each organization is so important. And it's really, really, it is a very collaborative process, but it is such a challenge,
Hmm.
such a challenge. And it's going to be really interesting to see whenever we do open up, that 50% that wants to go back, how many people do go back. And we look at the Asia Pac region, and we look at Hong Kong and Singapore and what they've sort of gone through. Organizations opened up their offices, and the utilization was really, really low. And then a second wave happens, and then everyone goes home again, and then that dies down, then they come back, and then another wave, and that dies down again. So it's looking at Asia and what's happened there. And again, this is where, the large organizations who have global reach are communicating a lot of these protocols. So that's how this information has been shared through the industry. It's so important to, for people to go read, digest, and sort of share information and tools and protocols that people are using. And I encourage people to, you know, maybe share as part of this video, the resources that they're using, uh, equipment that they're using, um, machinery, whatever that is, so that collectively we all know what everyone's doing, because everyone wants to do the right thing here. Everyone's trying to look after their organization, their employees. And as I was preparing for an interview with Andrew Mawson this weekend, I looked at a 2013 video he put together, and he says, you know, organizations' responsibility is to give every human the opportunity to have their best work day ever. And that should be, when I say organization, I mean workplace professionals, right?
Sure.
That should be our responsibility. So how do we do that? And that's sort of the collective spirit of everyone coming together is what we need to be doing to sort of get to that point. So I went on for a little bit there, Mike. I'm going to take a step back and let you digest that a little bit and
Well,
let me
I
know
know
what you
exactly where I
think.
want to go with this
Okay.
because it was something that Rex Miller brought up yesterday. All that you just described, all that I've heard through my network, through my previous interviews, this discussion about the practices and protocols and what it's going to take to prepare the workplace for the return of people. And those are good conversations. But like you said, we can learn already from other places that are a few weeks ahead of us. They're not coming back. The
Hmm.
majority of people are not comfortable coming back. And
Yeah.
that's what Rex said was it's the wrong question. We're focusing on the wrong thing. The idea around all these protocols and procedures is not going to address the human aspect of this, the humanized, the personal anxiety and fear and individual needs and different things that people are feeling. And we've touched on it here, and I've expressed this concern, but Rex kind of put it into a, and I'm not going to say totally clearly presented it to me because I still have questions of how you do this, but it's easy for us as workplace leaders, as facility management, corporate real estate practitioners, consultants, strategists, designers. Kay Sargent spent a majority of her hour talking about some of these techniques, and we touched on the human side, but we're not equipped, most of us, to manage the human beings, the psychological and emotional aspect of this. How do we bring back comfort? How do we explain it's okay to come back into public, come back into the workplace, interact with other human beings if for 6 weeks now we've all been basically conditioned through consistent information overload and media presentation that you can't leave your home or you're going to die or you're going to kill somebody else. and
Yeah.
and that
No.
that is really that's going to be the challenge. We've been told don't do this. You're a bad citizen if you do. And if you want to be a selfish person and get out, you're risking your own life. And it's I wonder if you've thought through that aspect of it, and if any of this new information that's coming out. Yesterday was a big day for antibody, research. It looks like in New York City there, it's not 800,000 cases, but maybe 2.5 million cases if you extrapolate 4 times the number of cases, whatever it is. They did things in California where it looks like this virus has been in the U.S. for a lot longer than we thought. That there's a lot more people. We're still far away from herd immunity. By we still have all these risks, but the fact that that denominator is getting much larger, it makes it, instead of being a 3 or 4% death rate, a 0.3 or 0.5%
Hmm.
death rate. I've seen different things, but those are the type of numbers. That's the data I was asking for 6 weeks ago. I said, give me real data so I know what we're really facing here. And I just fear that it might be too late, that this information is going to go out and you're going to say, yeah, it's worse than the flu, but it's not like this. It's not Ebola, and it's not something that's going to kill you for sure. So get it into your mindset, put it in perspective, and go back and live your life. I think that message is going to fall on deaf ears, at least in the near term. What do you think?
No, no, I think you're right. I just want to go back to what you were saying about the mental state, and maybe we're asking the wrong questions of people returning to the office. I think the other side of that coin is there are people that want and need to go back to the office for their mental state,
Yeah.
for whatever reason, right? So it's like that's why it's important to sort of put these protocols and procedures and focus on return to the office, just so that those people have the ability to. And I think every organization is doing it, is like, if you don't feel comfortable coming to the office, then don't come to the office. So I think that's the approach that I think the industry and almost every organization I've spoken with is absolutely the messaging that's coming through. So I want to speak from that perspective, right? And then going back to the data, no, absolutely. Of course, this is the data that everyone is looking for, and it is important to sort of see that. And I think everyone then individually has to sort of take that data, and you think about yourself. That may be the rate of exposure and the risk factor, but then you're going to individually look at it. I'm going to individually look at it, and I'm going to think about, okay, who am I going to be in contact with? Who's that person going to be in contact with? And what's the risk that I'm putting, not necessarily to the individual I'm talking to, but perhaps the next person that they're talking to. And what we don't know is if we are immune, does that mean we no longer carry the virus, or we don't carry the virus, right? That's what we don't know. So we may carry it, we're immune, and therefore we can therefore have the ability to pass it to other people, or because we have that immunity, it never gets to the point where we actually are asymptomatic and it cannot pass it to anybody else. So there's still a lot of questions that I think we have to
Very
we have to run
complicated.
through.
Yeah.
It is, but
Rex called it what's in the chain. I don't know what his expertise is. I guess he's a futurist in a sense, a consultant, but they look at these big issues and there's some called wicked problems. There's no
mm,
easy solution. It's complex. He showed an image of balls of yarn, just all entangled. So that's why I think this is going to be a real challenge for the workplace, but also for the general economy. Is that yes, you can set a date and reopen barbershops and bowling alleys, but if they're empty, does that really help local businesses? Does that really help that part of the economy come back? Is it going to be this V-shaped? We've had this
hmm
downward trend, and we're going to have this V-shaped recovery. I struggle to see that being the case, because at least in the near term, until there's more information, until people can get through this psychological hurdle and put things into context, that makes them comfortable to re-engage. Like you said, we all have those concerns about infecting not just ourselves but others, and the people we don't even know. I understood that. I completely bought into the flattening the curve philosophy, and I just want to know. And there's the talk of the second wave in the fall or in next flu season. It's going to come back in the fall and next winter. If this is not there's no end date for coronavirus. There's no end date for this pandemic at this point. So what do we do as human beings to re-engage with the public and re-engage with the office? It's different for everybody. It's going to be, but I think you're right. It's going to be and maybe this is a good thing. Maybe the slow, gradual return, as opposed to what Rex called the mass migration back to the office, is a better thing. The slow trickle back allows workplace leaders to prepare their offices, learn, get things going for 20% capacity, then 30, then 40, then 50, as opposed to everybody wanting to come back, or even 50% wanting to come back. So,
hmm
all those things will play out in the coming weeks and months, and we'll be here to talk about it. But I, you know me, I get anxious. You can tell I'm anxious when I think about the future, and I try not to look at the media too much, but the headlines, the clickbait is, this is looking more and more like a depression, economic depression, as opposed to a recession, and what that really means. I don't know. Part of me, the optimist in me, says we're in a different place today than we were back in the 1920s. You know, the economic impact of that market crash and societal, situation that dragged on for a decade. I can't imagine that happening here even if this lasts a year or two. At some point, although I don't, I start talking, I start questioning myself. Even if a vaccine comes out, Steve, are you going to be back to going to soccer games? I don't know.
I can't wait to go to soccer game. I'll certainly tell you that bit. I can't wait to watch soccer on TV. Never mind,
Yeah,
I'll settle for that right now. But no, who knows? Who knows when the right time is? But I think what we have to do is look at, how do we give everyone the best work day ever? How do we do it? It's tracking data, it's understanding the employee sentiment, keeping a track of those things. Who is going into the office? How do they feel about going into the office? What are the key things that we can do for them to help them have that best day for those who need to go in? But then, there'll be a bunch of people who don't want to go in. How do we ensure they have their best day ever? And we have to keep two sides of the coin in focus, because there is those two sides. And I think, every workplace professional, be it you a consultant, be it you within a company itself, has to keep an eye on what are the key data points, what are the important things you need to be tracking, or you need to be seeing, so that everybody, the entire workforce, can have their best workday ever. And I'm excited to have a bunch of conversations this weekend on. I'm going to be asking people these very questions. So next
I
week,
like that.
open source workplace. This is what we're gonna is what we're going to come out with. So I'm super excited to be chatting with a lot of these folks and people who are a lot smarter than you and I, Mike. And
Absolutely. Tell Andrew
we
I
can
said
share.
hi. Glad
I
he's
certainly
well,
will. I
and
certainly
give him
will.
my best.
I certainly will, man. I certainly will. All right, man. Have a great weekend.
You too.
Behave.
Enjoy. I'll
Enjoy
talk to you soon.
yourself. And
Thank
talk
you.
to you soon. Cheers, man. Thanks.
Bye.